राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम 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 जय राम ओम चंद्रनंदन श्री राम जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम ओम श्री राम जय Jai Jai Ram Om. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri 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 Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Hari Om, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. So when Papa is facilitating us to dwell on the various aspects of sadhana through these satsang sessions, today he is bringing out another dimension about intuition. Though it is an outcome of our spiritual practices, still there may be many moments in our life when we also get such instructions, guidance, directions, clues, hints from within. Many of us will be able to connect up. Suddenly, we get that guidance. So tomorrow, our October vision will be exclusively on this particular subject. We will go through an article or two and let us see how we get clarity. Spiritual practices help us in quietening the mind, thus opening up a channel through which the guidance from the indwelling reality in the form of intuition is clearly experienced. Spiritual practices, whatever we are doing, in the form of bhajan, in the form of Ramnam, in the form of sadhyai, in the form of satsang, it should help us in quietening the mind. Very clear. The calmness, the quietude, thus opening up a channel through which the guidance from the indwelling reality in the form of intuition is clearly experienced. In other words, one comes to know and consider every prompting as coming from him as an instinctive feeling rather than a conscious reasoning. You tell them, you tell them, they may not know the program, Spiritual practices help us in quietening the mind, thus opening up a channel through which the guidance from the indwelling reality in the form of intuition from the indwelling is clearly experienced. Whenever we are confronted with various conflicts, challenges, trying moments, stressful moments, we all need guidance. And if it is coming from our own intellect, it need not necessarily be full and perfect. So our spiritual practices are helping us to deal with men and matters at the Vyavaharik level in a most efficient way, intelligent way, if we try to rely more and more on intuition. This is how spirituality enters into our day-to-day life. Suppose we are on a project, the company has given us a project and we are working on a project with the computer or laptop. A stage comes when we don't know the breakthrough. There will be an intense application of our intellect. With all the memories, with all the skills, expertise, everything that we have so far been given by God through various experience, still we will find, the struggle will be there for the breakthrough. And when the breakthrough comes, we have to watch now. That particular fraction of a second, it is not our intellect that is guiding us. Like that, you get. So when we take to chanting of God's name and when we involve in various spiritual practices, if we are very clear about this, that we are relying on Him to make us aware of these intuitive experiences. It is not limited only to this, to every activity, because every activity is His. And what is needed? A simple, innocent, value-based life, which is also reflective and contemplative in every approach. Not at the superficial level, Everything, reflective and contemplative. Papa keeps on harping on this point. We should be reflective, we should be contemplating. That is what he meant by meditation. Meditation on Ram and chanting his name. So that means, the mind is becoming clearer and clearer so that he gets direct instructions from him. So a simple, innocent, value-based life, which is also reflective and contemplative in every approach, provides the needed ambience for the emergence of intuition. Regular, intense inward journey, coupled with purity in outer life. Purity in outer life means me to we, not me to me. Regular, intense inward journey, coupled with purity in our outer life, hasten the process. Here, purity stands for subservience to the higher power within us in all matters, whereby humbling ourselves, gradually this results in reducing the dominance of me and mine to the minimum. So the intuition has to become a regular affair. That means intuition means a direct. It is a direct instruction coming from him. Oftentimes, while acting based upon our inner promptings, we might be faced with the challenging question as to how are we to differentiate between intuitions and interpretations of our own mind. Because the tendency of our mind is to own everything. The yardstick to understand intuition is that it will be spontaneous in nature and free from any trace of vested interest. Then only each individual can understand this. Nobody else will be able to say. It is purely an individualistic affair. It can't come from outside also. Spontaneous, which is not a decision taken from the thought process. Instinctively we feel right. And number one. Number two is it will be free from any trace of vested interest, even in the subtlest form. We may not be craving for any outward benefit, but there may be some inner prompting, a recognition, something. So zero expectation. Vested interest means zero expectation from any quarter. We are prompted, we are doing it, that's all. To get more clarity on intuition, which is very subtle, Birol Papa says, intuition is the outcome of the fusion of a purified heart and illumined intelligence. Intuition is a spontaneous outflow of divine thought, feeling, and action in and through us. The chief condition to be fulfilled in order to reach this blessed state is elimination of the ego sense. How to do this? It is no doubt, very hard. It is not surely by intellectual endeavor, but by humbling ourselves before the divine. So submission to his will, becoming aware of what all the bounteous nature he has given, right from the day of our entry into the world till this moment. Everything has been provided by him. I don't recognize. I may read, but I don't recognize. So if I keep on trying to recognize, any and every object, any and every situation, then slowly the dominance of me and mine will get reduced. This will all facilitate for the functioning of the intuition. We provide this ambience, it emerges by itself. So three things are now mentioned. One is that purity, We become innocent. There is no preconceived notions about anything, like a child, but not childish, childlike. And there is an innocent value-based. Value-based means me to we. And reflective and contemplative, that is very important. We are not guided by anything that is superficially there. One example for that is, it is like milk getting processed to make its core content, the ghee. Milk turns into curd, which gets churned into butter and later gets converted into ghee. Milk needs to be used fast, otherwise it will get spoiled. Whereas ghee lasts very long. It adds its flavor and enhances the quality to whatever it is added to. And it is not choosy, Milk cannot be put in anything and everything. But ghee, when it is added to everything, it enriches. But this ghee has come from milk. So contemplative, the advantage is milk is also useful, no doubt. So similarly, at the superficial level, when we handle everything, it may be useful. But when we go deeper and deeper and deeper into it, the core content is brought out. And then, that will help us. So that is very, very important. Reflective and contemplative. Papa's method has been, that is why he could say boldly that even before he left on the 27th of December 1922, he said, through a ceaseless repetition of the divine mantram, side by side with the concentrated meditation on the all-pervading, eternal, ever-blissful, indwelling God, had attained freedom and peace even before his advent into the world as a mendicant. This reflective and contemplative nature, deep. It was not merely chanting. That is why he gave us the clue, meditated and chanted. Once again we will read. Spiritual practices help us in quietening the mind, thus opening up a channel through which the guidance from the indwelling reality in the form of intuition is clearly experienced. So when we do that, we should be, this also should be there, We want to open up a channel between him and us. Mataji also specifically mentions this. While taking to Ramnam, she was equally, simultaneously, she was hammering to herself that we are chanting the name of one who is the indwelling reality, all-pervading reality, who is with form, without form, who is the moving principle in our sense of individuality. Like that she keeps on adding. Chocolate. Take it outside, Give them this. Tell them to go to the... So this is very important. In other words, one comes to know and consider every prompting as coming from him as an instinctive feeling rather than as conscious reasoning. We should keep this in our mind, while chanting, while doing bhajan, so that it won't be at the surface level. It can be in any form. So what should be the ambience? How will it sprout? It is there, just like a seed to sprout, certain conducive atmosphere, ambience is necessary. Similarly, the intuition, if it has to become expressive, what should I do? A simple, innocent, value-based life, which is also reflective and contemplative in nature, provides the needed ambience for the emergence of intuition. Regular, intense inward journey coupled with purity in outer life. Hasten the process. Both should go hand in hand. Here purity stands for the subservience to the higher power within us in all matters, whereby humbling ourselves. Gradually, this results in reducing the dominance of me and mine to the minimum. We can't say it will completely go, but it will be the minimum. So long as we have got a body, the requirement of the body has to be met with. Food may not be 3 times or 5 times, but still, some basic things are necessary. Water is necessary. So we can't say 100% it will go, but me and mine will be to the minimum, barest minimum. We can watch ourselves. There won't be any grumbling and complaint. We are fully satisfied with whatever is available to us. Oftentimes, while acting, based upon our inner promptings, we might be faced with the challenging question as to how are we to differentiate between intuitions and interpretation of our own mind. The yardstick to understand intuition is that it will be spontaneous in nature and free from any trace of vested interest. To get more clarity on intuition, which is very subtle, Birad Papa said, intuition is the outcome of the fusion of a purified heart and illumined intelligence. Intuition is a spontaneous outflow of divine thought, feeling, and action in and through us. The chief condition to be fulfilled in order to reach this blessed state is elimination of the ego sense. How to do this? It is no doubt very hard. It is not surely by intellectual endeavor, but by humbling ourselves before the divine. And the first article of Papa, lead article on intuition. Intuition is the working of the inner being of a man when he has tuned his life with the universal and all transcendent existence. When intuition really works, the egoistic sense of man is completely absent, and the experience of such a man is of a consciousness which is above the body idea. To rise above the notion of the body does not mean the stock stillness of the physical members, but the performance of all their actions in a state of perfect self-effacement and therefore of spontaneity. Self-effacement, that is free from vested interest, absolute. Intuition does not work always in consonance with the views and opinions or swayed by the criticism and oppositions of the world. The external form of work, which the intuition takes directly, flows out from the omnipotent power that causes the birth, growth, and dissolution of all phenomenal life. So our interpretation, our evaluation will not go anywhere near that. Spontaneously the prompting comes, they share it, they act, they think. Later on we will find when Gandhiji's experience comes, even Papa's, he was invited by, in his itinerant days in Bombay, somebody invited him for lunch or something like that, food. He said yes. After some time somebody came and then took him for lunch. So somebody pointed out, you are already given a word. Oh, he said Ram prompted to say yes to that person. Ram prompted him to take that. He was not concerned. Though from our angle, it's not a good behavior. That's what Papa says. But here he is not affected, That means they don't expect anything from anybody except that God prompted and God did it. There is no why and whereof, there is no expectation, there is nothing beyond that. That is why we cannot measure that. Our yardstick is totally different. The external form of work which the intuition takes directly flows out from the omnipotent power that causes the birth, growth, and dissolution of all phenomena in life. If one could at all distinguish the works of intuition from those emanating from an individualistic sense, it is possible only through the results. While the former, being of selfless nature, tend inevitably to benefit and delight of others, the latter, being born of personal ambition and for personal gratification, causes loss and misery to others. So intuition is the product of complete self-surrender, and its work is in inherent nature beneficial to all. We hear of saints and sages receiving unspoken messages from the great master of the universe as to the conduct of their lives. Their intimacy and communion with the great guide is so perfect that they carry out works in the world without favor or prejudice, without caring for praise or blame, but only in fulfillment of their life's mission as set by the divine guide. In the field of spirituality, intuition is spoken of as the inner voice. When the soul has fallen under the spell of the immortal voice, he realizes his ever-free, blissful existence. Thereafter, the individual lives and moves in the consciousness of God. In all states, he now feels he is utterly liberated and inexplicably happy. For the past few days, every Papa keeps on bringing this. What should we do while chanting Ramana? We have got a system of chanting. So what all we have to add? Every day he gives us some dimensions. Today the dimension is, I must be able to feel you so that your instructions are directly conveyed. It is not distorted through the reflecting medium of my mind. Because the moment it comes to the reflecting media, like my mind, it gets distorted because there the me and mind dominates and it gets distorted. But if it has to come directly from it and then passes it on, if it's to be passed on, the reflecting medium should become perfect, clean. So intellectually we can understand, if the mind is pure, the reflection comes direct, just like the ordinary glasses. There are three types, transparent, translucent, opaque. So we should become transparent glasses, so that whatever is there is clearly reflected. In the translucent, distortion has come. Some figure we are not clear. In opaque, nothing will be there. We will not see at all. Though the reflection is there, it gets stopped there. So this is the process of purification by which, from the opaque to translucent and from the translucent to the transparent, meaning purity of our mind, freeing ourselves from. We are free. The moment somebody says something, somebody does something, we don't colorize it with our own preconceived notions. Then and there, we deal with it. And the guidance comes from within. All of us can go back to our own life. There must have been umpteen number of instances where this becomes evident. We have not thought that this mechanism is going on inside. No. Whenever our mind becomes pure, sattvic, and when we were acting, we were talking, we were thinking, whenever we accept the other person's standpoint, that means we are not colorizing ours. We try to hear patiently and then try to react. Not only react. Please think about it. This is something on which it affects our daily life. It promotes harmony in our dealing with everybody, not only at home, in the field of profession, and with the friend circle. Two friends, right from their school life, they have been very close. One was bringing out so many traits, impressionable. And it was spontaneous. But somehow, God willed that after some time, when he was made to pass through some stressful moments, he lost his grip and started slipping into loose life. The other person, both of them remembered their teacher, who was an inspirer for them. And the teacher, before they left the school, was bringing Bhagavad Gita in many of his classes. Bhagavad Gita in the practical life. Not the textual absorption, but it was an application of Bhagavad Gita while dealing with every incident or every situation. And because he was living such a life, these two students, they were impressed by him. And at the end, the teacher said, you should you should write something about Bhagavad Gita, its applicability. Both of them left. They did not give much importance to that because it was they thought, it's too heavy for them. So the other friend who had not slipped into this loose life, he started remembering the teacher's last instruction. And then he started going through Bhagavad Gita. And amazingly, he was trying to connect up so many things. And he was giving this copy every time he writes to the other friend, who had shifted his priorities to loose life. But he had great love for his friend. So he will hear. And every time he will try to discourage. Why are you wasting your time like that? But still he was hearing. And this man persevering. As he started plunging deep into Bhagavad Gita and connecting up every now and then, he found the taste. And then he knew it is a manual, it's a guide. Any problem, so problems come, immediately they became doctors. Each one has their own. And the attitude towards the profession was totally different. Because every time he is bringing yoga, karma, kaushalam, equanimity, all those things it comes, So when he is tempted by the representative that we will give this, we will give that, the other person easily falls for it. The other person says, no. There is a vast difference between this going on. And finally, though the other person was apparently resisting or he was posing as a rebellion, he started thinking about it. And then he knew, yes, he was slipping, or he had already slipped, but he was able to pull him out. And then moves to another one. This is a theme. It is wonderful. So why we remembered, what all helps us in maintaining this? What all helps us in knowing that we should become subservient to that power? Satsang. Satsang Satsang with Bhagavad Gita, Satsang on Bhagavad Gita, whatever we can see. So like that we choose. God, has, God is placing before us everything. All these spiritual practices should help us to come out of the me and mine. And definitely it percolates. There may be temptation, there may be, cravings, all those things will be there in everybody's life. Especially in this consumer-oriented setup in this state. Whether it is a need-based or desire-based life, the tussle will be there. Especially those who are in a family life. Somebody may be asking for a particular thing. You may feel it is not necessary. There will be conflict. So at that time it's all right. To them they still want so many things. After buying it, and using it for a couple of weeks, it will be kept somewhere. Nobody uses it. But the anxiety to possess and the anxiety to have a feeling that I have this. Somebody was telling, till this year, he had not bought a fridge. He did not feel the necessity for a fridge. But everybody in the house suggested everybody is having a fridge. Why should we not have a fridge? So ultimately he had to buy a fridge. He himself tells us, need-based life, desire-based life. He gave in, but he is very clear, Some tests will be there. There are some, it's not that fridge is bad. It also becomes useful if you want to keep something, it will not get spoiled, something like that. It might be useful. But even without that, we were managing, with that. But if we don't have a clear-cut idea about the need and desire, we will keep on falling one after another. And in our house, though we may have 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet, the free movement space will be very, very limited. Nobody has trespassed. We have ourselves put, and we find it difficult to move from one room to another. And we are finding it difficult. What a mess I have created. So these are all some of the things, relating ourselves, So need-based life and desire-based life, it is really a spiritual journey. You start thinking about it. You may have to please others. Yeah. No doubt, you cannot say mine is right. But you can still feel, not necessary, without that we can manage. That is why it was said, an innocent, simple, value-based life provides the needed ambience for the emergence of the intuition. Intuition is nothing but the instruction or guidance coming directly from the great guide who is within us. So, Ramnam chanting is trying to trigger this move towards this particular ideal. So we pray to him now while we chant Ramnam. Somewhere in our corner of our mind, please bring this dimension so that we are not carried away by anything. In our outer life, there may be so many such tests you will be giving. Normally we fail because we view it from the individual level, we view it from the body level, and naturally we don't think beyond that. And unknowingly we limit ourselves to ourselves. So we pray to him to guide us. He is providing everything for us, but we should also know this is for that, this is for that. So Ramnam should make me a useful person to the society. Ramnam should make me to lead a simple, innocent, value-based life. Ramnam should enable me to think more about him and less about me. Like that, so many practical suggestions, hints will be given to us by him when we keep on chanting Nama with this prayer. Intensely every day we have to pray this. 2 or 3 minutes we stand before the image of our Guru or the deity and then pray from the bottom of the heart. Every day you are making me to go through. But kindly ensure that your presence is something which I should not miss. And I should be deriving the needed guidance from you only, not from the puny intellect which you have given me. That is for handling so many things. But to move towards you, I know my intellect will not be helpful. Absolutely, I am very clear about it. But to become your servant, an efficient servant, you have given me the intellect and all the needed expertise or memory power or sharpness or what, smartness, whatever you call it. I will make use of it. But I should know to come to you, I should come naked. I should be free from all these conditionings. Please, somewhere in the corner of my mind, you must always keep it alive. I fail, I forget. If it was possible, I would have done it earlier. Because I really want to move towards you. Your samipyam and your sanidhyam, your nearness and your presence is something which I crave for. And we also know that we don't have to run away from any field, we don't have to change our dress, we don't have to change our line of profession. Everywhere we can bring this because you are there with us. That simple truth I should know. So these are all the thoughts we wanted to place. Let us pray intensely to him to somehow make it a reality in our life. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram